Welcome to the Life After Sugar podcast. The podcast that's not just about sugar, but about your relationship with it and also with food and especially with yourself. So if you want to discover your life after sugar and hear inspiring stories from all kinds of people who also cut out sugar in their way, at their pace, for their own reasons, this is the podcast for you. Because when you take away the sugar, you can finally discover the real sweetness in your life. I'm your host, Netta Gorman, and today I thought I'd talk to you about how exactly someone gets to a place where they can let go of sugar without the need for willpower. How do you actually get to a place where you don't want, miss, or need sugar anymore? Is it really possible? Well, I know it was possible for me, but is it possible for you? Here's the good news. I know that it is. So that's why today's episode gives you some actionable practical tips to get there. Now, you may have noticed that I call what I live and what I help other people to experience life after sugar, not life without sugar, because I find that the word without has a negative connotation of deprivation or a lack or something, whereas life after sugar is totally the opposite. It's all about the freedom and the joy of being sugar-free, with the operative word being free. Between you and me, I don't really care what you eat. What I really care about is how you feel. And that's why I developed 5 pillars of life after sugar. And those 5 pillars are what I guide you through in the Life After Sugar program over a period of 12 weeks and beyond. In my experience of being a teacher for the last 30 years or so, I found that it's much easier to get to our goal when we follow a proven structure. So I'd like to explain to you now the structure of those 5 pillars for life after sugar. And then I'd like to go through a couple of exercises from the Life After Sugar program so that you can start working on the first pillar, which is all about awareness. The after in Life After Sugar is central to your life. The before and after in Life After Sugar is all about you and how you feel. You may be in the before stage now. Maybe you feel bloated and uncomfortable in your own body because of all the sugar you're eating. Or maybe you're feeling sick and tired of the diet mentality. Or maybe you reach out for sugary or starchy foods when you're exhausted and the idea of cutting sugar feels extreme to you. That's what I call the before stage. In the before stage, you may be feeling, like a failure and frustrated that everything you've tried before just hasn't worked. And you don't feel free from sugar at all. And maybe now you're feeling overwhelmed by the idea of what you're going to eat if you cut sugar. And you may also be feeling judged by other people for being an intermittent faster or for even wanting to cut sugar. Like you're an outsider. But of course you don't want to feel restricted in any way, and I totally get that. I also understand that it's scary to think of eliminating all your comfort foods. How else are you going to get comfort or reward or just general yumminess? I totally get it. I was there too. And that's why I created the 5 pillars of life after sugar. And in the Life After Sugar program, we follow a framework with 5 pillars that will allow you to get to true freedom from sugar, to a place where you don't want, need, or miss sugar anymore. I call this 5-pillar framework after because, that's what life after sugar is all about. Each pillar has a letter that spells out after. So A, F, T, E, R. And they represent 5 steps to get to freedom from sugar. The first pillar and the first letter A stands for awareness and accountability. You'll be guided and supported in the Life After Sugar program so that your awareness grows with time about your relationship with sugar, but also with yourself. The second pillar, the F in after, stands for fasting and fermentation. Now, you don't have to be an intermittent faster to cut sugar, but very often intermittent fasting definitely comes more easily when you cut sugar. And by sugar, I mean all of those industrially processed products that are not really real, whole, nutritious foods. So you'll probably find that when you do cut the products that cause cravings and blood sugar spikes and crashes, well, you'll find fasting a lot easier because you're just getting hungry less often. The F in after also stands for fermentation. Now, sugar is one of the worst things for your gut health, and in the Life After Sugar program, you'll be learning all about the magic of fermented foods and drinks, some of which you may already know about, and some of which may be totally new for you. Your gut health is central to your general health, and having a healthy gut microbiome has been shown to reduce cravings. The third pillar of Life After Sugar, the T in after, stands for time and tastes. It does take time for change to happen. It doesn't happen overnight, and you may still struggle with cravings in the first few weeks and even months. That's totally normal. The third pillar, the T in after, also stands for tastes. In fact, as you reduce or cut sugar, you'll develop new tastes and discover new textures and a real appreciation and enjoyment of food like you may have never known before. In fact, you may find that foods that you used to find delicious, especially sweet foods, don't even taste good to you anymore. The fourth pillar of Life After Sugar, the E in after, stands for emotions and energy. It's no secret that the processed foods industry hooks us with crave-worthy foods and sugar. And many of us reach out for sweet and starchy foods to calm or soothe our emotions, and we get into this emotional eating cycle, which is nothing to be ashamed about. It's very common. In the Life After Sugar program, you'll get advice, help, guidance and support to find other ways of meeting your emotional needs so that you never feel deprived and so that you can get to a place where you don't need sugar as an emotional crutch. That's real freedom from sugar. And the fourth pillar, the E in after, also stands for energy. You'll probably find that when you switch your diet to real whole foods, which automatically excludes sugar, you'll have lots more energy, and this energy will be stable all day long to allow you to do all the things you love to do. And pillar number 5 of Life After Sugar, the R in after, stands for being ready and being resourceful. If you're ready to develop a peaceful relationship with sugar, the Life After Sugar program will help you get there. But you won't be all alone. You'll be guided every step of the way by myself, Netta, and with the encouragement and support of our lovely, friendly community. I'm going to give you lots of resources, but you still need to be resourceful enough to look at labels and do the exercises and assignments that I give you, to try new recipes, and especially to ask questions. All right, so speaking of assignments and exercises, I'm going to give you 3 exercises inside of the Life After Sugar program so that you get a bit of a sneak peek inside it. One of the exercises is called When I Eat, I Feel. It's an exercise designed to help you pinpoint what you want to eat when you feel a certain emotion, and it could be a negative emotion or a positive one. It's an exercise to get you thinking about your relationship with sugar or with any types of processed foods and with your emotions. I mean, wouldn't you love it if someone could come along with a magic wand and just make all your cravings disappear? Well, I can tell you that your cravings can disappear, but the magic is within you. Now, it takes some introspection and a little bit of honest, tough love to bring out the magic. And in my experience, I found that we often look for comfort, reward, or fun in sugar and foods rather than within ourselves. And I did that too for the longest time, and I wasn't even aware of it. So if you want to change the habit of a lifetime, it starts with pillar 1, the A in after, which is the awareness of the habits that you have. But it's not a linear process, and you might find yourself resisting the change that you really want. I know I certainly did, and I resisted for the longest time. Don't do what I did. But if you do find yourself resisting, don't worry, you're not alone, and you're certainly not weak or broken. You're just human. I can tell you as an English teacher that changing a habit is a little like learning a new language. It feels weird and unnatural at first, and you don't really know whether anything will ever make sense. But if you learn a few new words, in other words, if you make tiny tweaks in your habits every day, gradually your new language or your new habits will become fluent. For example, let's say it's Friday night after a stressful week and you're exhausted. This is the context. Now, when you're in this context, what do you feel like eating? It could be popcorn or pizza or a big glass of wine or ice cream or cookies or whatever. Note this down. When I'm in this context, I feel this emotion and I feel like eating this type of food. And then in the exercise, I ask you to write down how you could meet the same need in other ways than with food or sugar. For example, if you need to relax, you could take a long hot bath or listen to your favorite music, or vent to a friend, or read a book, or pet your cat, or whatever type of activity that calms you down and that you enjoy. And yes, maybe it won't give you the same type of dopamine rush as sugar or a glass of wine, but that's the whole point. What you're looking for, the awareness in the first pillar of the Life After Sugar program, is all about not just copying how you've always done things, but creating new habits, new neural pathways, and new ways of gradually learning a new language of your new habits. And in that way, you become less and less dependent on sugar or processed foods to deal with your emotions. I just want to take a short break to thank you for listening to this podcast. Thank you for rating it and for leaving a review and for sharing it so that it can inspire as many people as possible to start living their life after sugar. So I'd like to share with you a review about the Life After Sugar podcast. This one is from Sandra, who actually followed the Life After Sugar program in 2021. In her podcast review, Sandra says, Netta is a beautiful person who is spreading the word about her journey to better health and vitality after giving up sugar and flour 5.5 years ago. She walks you hand in hand on the process of discovering your life after sugar in a series of informal chats. She also interviews others who have made this life-changing journey. To quote Netta, "When you take away the sugar, you can finally discover the real sweetness in your life." I'm grateful for her inspiration in my own life and in my quest for a healthier lifestyle. Thank you, Sandra, and congratulations on your life after sugar. And that brings me to the second exercise that I want to tell you about, which is about meeting your emotional needs. And meeting your emotional needs in other ways than with sugar. I don't know about you, but I wasn't really brought up to meet my emotional needs or even to recognize them when I was a child, and even as a young adult, I wasn't very comfortable with the range of human emotions that I would be feeling. And I used to try and stuff down what I considered to be negative emotions because, well, quite honestly, I just didn't know how to deal with them. But I'm happy to say that since I stopped eating sugar, funnily enough, it kind of forced me to grow up and to learn to deal with my emotional needs in a more adult way. I mean, as conscious humans, we all have valid basic needs. And there's no shame in having emotional needs. But if you're anything like me, you've probably turned to food, and more specifically sugar, to either meet those needs or to numb those needs in some way. So in the Life After Sugar program, I've developed an exercise that is designed to help you identify and name your emotional needs with no self-judgment, and then to find other ways than food or sugar to meet them. The first step is to identify and write down how you're feeling now. And quite frankly, even though I'm an English teacher, I lacked the vocabulary to actually describe my feelings. I could have maybe said happy or sad, but that was about it. So I looked up a whole bunch of vocabulary that describes feelings, and I added it to this exercise in the Life After Sugar program. Personally, it really helped me to name my feelings, and naming them actually took away from this feeling of there being some sort of emergency to get rid of the feelings. Gradually over time, I got to a place where I was able to just recognize that I was having a feeling. It became less of a big deal, and actually my growing awareness helped me to get calmer about having any types of feelings. I stopped freaking out about them so much. I didn't freak out if I was feeling stressed or sad or annoyed or frustrated anymore. I was able to kind of step back and say, well, I'm having a feeling, and then carry on. So this is another exercise for the first pillar of the Life After Sugar program, the A in after, that stands for awareness. The more aware we are of how we're feeling, and the more able we are to express how we're feeling, the better we can learn to handle our feelings without running to sugar. Another part of this exercise is to think of the last time you felt like eating a particular food. And by food, you understand that I'm probably talking about something sugary. What was that particular food that you wanted to eat, that you were craving, that you needed so that you wouldn't have to feel a particular emotion, even if you weren't aware of it at the time? Think back so that you're aware of it now. How did you feel before you ate it? How did you feel as you were eating it? And how did you feel right after you ate it and even several hours after you ate it. If you felt numb or nothing, you can note that down too and think about why you felt numb or you felt nothing. And note that numb is not the same as neutral. So that's part of the second exercise that I wanted to talk to you about. Now there's lots of other step-by-step actionable exercises inside of the Life After Sugar program, and I won't leave you all alone to do them because I'll be right there with you to make sure that you follow the 5 pillars of life after sugar so that you can experience what it's really like to have true freedom from sugar. And the exercises aren't exclusively about your emotions. So I want to tell you about a third exercise, or I don't know if it's actually really an exercise, but it's more of a guide to help you find sugar subs to replace sugar or to replace sweet tasting foods. Because if you're anything like me, back in 2015, you may not even have any sort of idea about what to replace sugar with. Personally, when I first cut down sugar, for the first 2 weeks, I ate no sweet tasting foods whatsoever. But we're all different, and you don't have to be just like me. You may need some not so bad sweet subs to replace sugar so that you don't feel like you're missing out or that you're depriving yourself. The amazing thing is that you'll find that eventually your tastes will change, and you may get to a place where you don't need or even like so much sweetness. It happened to me, and I was the world's #1 sweet tooth, believe me. So here are some ideas for sugar subs. Instead of white or brown sugar, you could start with honey, dates or maple syrup, or even better, go straight to eating whole fruit that hasn't been juiced or pureed or made into a smoothie. Instead of milk chocolate or chocolate chips, you could start with dark chocolate, 80% and higher, and then eventually just unsweetened cocoa powder. Instead of commercial cereal, you could start off with oatmeal and then add your own fruit and spices. Or even better, you could learn how to make steel-cut oats or overnight oats if you really feel like having cereal in the morning. I mean, eventually, you might find that you just want to change what you have for breakfast, or you may not even want breakfast anymore. Another sub for muffins, energy bars, or cookies, even homemade ones, would be low-sugar fruit like berries, citrus fruit, avocado, or coconut, unsweetened, of course. And if you do feel that you still have that need or habit of snacking, then try non-sweet snacks like nuts or cheese. Over time, when you cut sugar and sweet foods, you may even find that you don't need to snack anymore. And instead of using artificial or processed sweeteners, you could start off with using stevia, monk fruit, allulose, or whole fruit. Or even better, train your taste buds to enjoy all the other tastes and less sweetness. Now, we're all different, and you have your personal path to follow, which is why the Life After Sugar program is tailor-made for you according to your needs. That's one of the things that sets the Life After Sugar program apart. We'll be building it together according to your specific needs. If you need help finding real foods at the grocery store, or deciphering labels, or knowing what to say in social situations where people are offering you sugar, or if you're worried about losing your treats, or you really want to get to the heart of your relationship with sugar, but you don't want to get caught up in the diet mentality, like feeling that you're not doing it right or that you're failing at it. With Life After Sugar, there are no rules, no guilt, no stress. It's freedom from the diet culture. And you'll always get the support, the encouragement, the accountability, and the guidance you need at our accountability calls. The Life After Sugar program is a 12-week experience with frequent accountability calls and a private community that is not on Facebook, where we have live calls scheduled according to your availability and your time zone. You'll get lots of personal attention, which is why I keep the group small and by application only. Now, Barbie followed the Life After Sugar program in early 2022, and she says, I participated 100% in the Life After Sugar program. You know what they say, if you put something into it, you'll get something out of it. If you just hand me some guides and say, here, read this, do it on your own, I'm likely not. It may have taken a year to get round to it. I mean, I need people and interaction and to share the drawbacks and the pitfalls that everybody's going to come across. It's great to have that guidance. The accountability made me hold myself responsible. It made me stop and think and do the assignments. And surprisingly, it didn't take much time, just a few weeks. Because the main thing is being accountable to myself. And it helps when I have a little structure. I need some structure and community in order to do something. I'm in a totally different place now, and it's wonderful because of my awareness. I'm aware now. And Lauren, who followed the Life After Sugar program in 2021, said, all of the videos were very helpful. And even with my science background and knowledge, some of the more behavioral aspects like the stress management worksheets were really the thing for me. The ongoing accountability and peer support is the most helpful part for me. It helps me to feel less isolated when making these changes and like they're achievable. And Claire, who was part of the same cohort as Lauren, said, I enjoyed being part of this program. I watched all the videos and printed off and completed, or at least started, most of the exercises. This program made me dig deeper, think more, and research deeper too. I loved the calls and have been at them all. I love the conversation that comes from a bunch of women with the same hopes and goals. It's great to get differing opinions about subjects. I like the accountability and how it makes me look at my choices. Keep doing what you're doing. I love your approach. And Veronica said, I'd already started my journey, so I was doing well, but I needed that extra personal touch. The program helped me a lot with accountability. At the beginning, I did the self-care bingo game, the deeper dives, the breakup letter to sugar, and I watched all the videos available. I also participated in the accountability calls, and they are so helpful. It's always nice to help others with ideas and to learn from theirs too. And I liked our community. I enjoy that it gives direct access to each other and to Netta. And from Debbie, the main benefit I got from the Life After Sugar program was the ongoing support of a close-knit community who all understood one another, with Netta always available to answer questions and generally be there for us. The other great benefit was discovering a whole new world of fermented foods. And from Ellen, I'd read all the literature and all the studies, but I was still getting cravings. I know what chronic inflammation is, but it was more. Despite all the knowledge and everything, you can still learn from others how they implement that in their daily life. In the first 4 weeks or so, I always had lapses, so I dropped added sugar and refined starches. It was my own choice, and I'm very, very energetic now. I was so astonished that I could run almost 16 kilometers. My habits at the end of a meal have changed, and the group encouragement pulls you up because we're together. It's amazing, really, really amazing. And a whole year later, Ellen wrote this: "Today is the day, 365 days after sugar." What an exciting year it was. and I feel really good. No cravings, no regrets, only advantages. Anniversaries, birthdays, and other celebrations, no problem. Family, friends, and colleagues are not trying to convince me anymore. They have given in and somehow accepted it. And when they eat their cakes and sweets, I have my own special things full of natural flavour. In some aspects, my family learn from it a lot. I'm not going to nag them, I'm just showing them by living it in front of their eyes. So I and my microbiome, will always be grateful for the program. Letting go of sugar is so much easier when you have a structure and a framework to follow. And together with my real-life experience of living happily sugar-free and the 5 pillars of life after sugar, we can make it attainable and even fun for you to let go of sugar so that you can find the real sweetness in your life. The Life After Sugar program is all about you. Reducing or cutting sugar has been shown to help in reversing type 2 diabetes. It can give you more stable moods, more mental clarity. It can help you have peace with food. It can also improve your gut health and help you have a better body image. If you're ready for the chance to take less medication, get better sleep, have improved blood tests and more energy, and even have a smaller food bill, reducing or cutting sugar can give you less pain and less inflammation and help you get to a place where loving your food and yourself gives you real freedom from sugar. So if you're ready to get rid of cravings without the need for willpower and feel confident, joyful, and full of energy, and make your intermittent fasting lifestyle easy and natural. To contact me to chat about the Life After Sugar program to see if it's a good fit for you, go to aftersugarclub.com and click on the program tab. That's aftersugarclub.com, and in the top menu, click on the program tab. And if this podcast is inspiring you to take one more step towards your life after sugar, then could I ask you to please scroll down and leave the podcast a lovely 5-star rating and leave a short review to let me know how this podcast is inspiring you to break free from sugar your way and find the real sweetness in life. Thank you for listening. That's it for this week. Keep in touch and see you soon for another episode.